Start off just sitting comfortably without sort of too much concern with whether it's the correct posture for Tai Chi or not, but just to enable us to settle in a little bit. Try not to slouch down in the chair, so keep a nice sort of upright, open posture. And just rubbing your hand together, so palm of your hand, finger get a little bit warm. And then lightly tapping over your face. Just covering as much of your face as you can. Nice steady rhythm. And then work up over your head and neck. Down to one shoulder. That's how the muscles begin to vibrate with the tapping. Go down the inside of your arm, up the outside. This is both a physical warm-up, but also a way of drawing your attention more fully into your body. On the other side, and your arm. And come into the upper part of the chest. You get quite a sort of hollow feel. Do this in the chest. And down light on your belly. And finally, working down the outside of your legs and up the inside. Now, if you can do so comfortably without straining in your back, come in more forwards in your chair, feet flat down on the floor, and just tilt forwards a little bit, tilt from your hips so that a little bit of your weight goes into your feet. So what we're trying to do is to keep that upright, open stance without having to lean back in the chair. Obviously, we're still on the chair, so a lot of our weight is being supported. And trying to get a feeling of our weight, of our center of gravity, dropping downwards through our body, landing in that space between hips and feet. So what I don't want to do, for instance, is be out here and my center of gravity dropping down there, because then I'll be constantly fighting to not fall out the chair, so on and so forth. So just learning that we can sort of arrange our posture so that it becomes self-supporting to an extent. Dropping the center of gravity, it's less obvious when we're in the chair, I think, but it's the rooting down, and it's that which gives us the stability that Tai Chi is well known for. Lower your center of gravity, simply put, the more stable you will be. It also means that your weight overall has a tendency to drop, so carrying less weight in your shoulders, your upper back. Once again, that helps to encourage our body to release tightness and stiffness. Try not to pull your belly in or to tighten your chest. And just feel that when we are able to release that tightness for maybe only for a few moments to begin with, but in those moments, we do actually register that there's a way that our body supports itself on the inside. This is via our skeleton, the surrounding tissue. Initially, that's how we feel it. It goes a bit beyond that. Those of us with a bit more experience. But just an awareness of how, for instance, when you're able to let your shoulders drop, they don't just drop to the ground, they sort of drop into your rib cage. And your rib cage maintains the shape and the space in your chest. Just learning to have a bit more confidence in our body's ability to support itself without tightening up, without stiffening up. So trying to maintain that as you begin to move, starting just by turning your head. Once we've got a sort of general feel for the posture, then we try and maintain that as a sort of intention. So think of intention as a suggestion to your body. This is how I want to feel. This is what I want to happen. And all of the movements that we make in Tai Chi and Qigong are deliberate and intentional, consciously intentional. And then your shoulders. Going forward. So we want to move in such a way that doesn't involve tightening up. There's a chicken and egg situation here. We try and just release tightness and stiffness in the body, and that enables a more connected movement. Bringing your hands down to your sides now, just rotating your arms. And that connection, the movement means that no one part of the body is overloaded, and we're more likely to be able to move without creating tightness and stiffness. So although we tend to think about these things like, you know, releasing tightness and things like almost in a linear sense, we should imagine them more like points around a circle. It might be appropriate to think about your posture before you start to move. It might be appropriate to move and to let that enable a reflection on your posture, some kind of combination of those. And then raising your arms and widening them out. In general, it's a good idea to not overdo the movements with your arms. These are quite subtle movements in arms and hands, and as long as you're not kind of waving your arms around too much, you may start to feel what's happening in your sides, your chest, your upper back, as well as in your arms and your shoulders. Going back the other way. And let your hands rest. Now bringing your attention to this middle part of your body, pelvis, hips, lower part of your belly and back. And just let your pelvis tilt forwards a little bit more, so more of your weight goes into your feet, and then using your feet, pressing down gently, pushing yourself back up. Not going too far forwards. So now our weight moves from predominantly in our hips to more of our weight being in our feet and legs, and then back again. And this is a very dynamic force in Tai Chi, the transfer of the weight, the way that we use our legs, our feet, our hips. Just let a rhythm in the movement begin to build forwards, backwards. Giving time between each stage to settle in. So really, what should be saying here, forwards, and then a sense of settling down, and then backwards, and a sense of settling down. And those intermediary stages are quite short, but the intention is once again to release, to get a sense for the ground beneath our feet, beneath our hips. And then as our weight moves, so that rhythm, that dynamic spreads up into the upper body, and we begin to get that sense of movement in the upper part of the body. One of the very common images that we use in Tai Chi, using imagery to transmit our intention, sometimes. One of the common ones, almost universal, is this one of moving through water. So if you were doing this in water, going forwards, there'd be this sense of pressure against the front of your body. Going back would be against the back. And we can start to feel the transition from front to back, back to front within the body, almost like there's water itself flowing into the front of your body, sort of pushing you forwards, and then flowing into your back and pushing you back. So all these movements have both an internal and an external aspect to them. We generally learn by copying the external movement, of course. We use that to help us become more aware of what's happening within the body. Now turn just a little bit in your hips, and now more of your weight going to one leg. So these initial exercises, again, there's a dual function here. Obviously, we're warming the body up, we're getting some of the joints mobilized and so on and so forth. But we're also using the very simple movements to familiarize ourselves with principles of movement, qualities of movement that we want to try and take into the later, more complex exercises. And turning the other way. Like a musician might learn basic scales, exercises to enable them to play a tune. So not simply the case of making big, elaborate movements. It's really trying to get a sense for what are the principles underlying those movements, because it's those principles, that way of moving is what we would take with us out of the classes practice. And this time go forwards, turn, so you draw your weight across to the other foot, roll your arms back, that weight goes into your hip, turn to the other side. Now, just appreciating the significance of the movements in this central part of the body. It's described as being like the hub of a wheel. You think about a bicycle wheel, and if you turn the hub a little bit, you get the whole wheel begins to move. And then going back. Again, many of these principles are conceivable on more than one level, on a kind of external level, on a level of very subtle mechanics within the body, but also in terms of the flow, the momentum, the sense of the energy of it. Coming back to the center, pull one heel up, step out with your foot, put your heel down, lower the ball of your foot, gently pressing to the floor, step back. Just pressing in, planting the foot, feeling that contact with the ground through the sole of your foot. You'll need to sort of like soften your foot just a little bit. And then this time, let your weight go. It's like you're walking on soft sand. Make sure that your foot is fully planted before you commit your weight. And on the other side, stepping out, heel, ball of the foot. I sometimes describe this as though you're walking on thin ice. So you're testing the ice before you commit your weight. And then, as in your weight, follow the movement. And come back. So now we come to the main body of exercises, bringing all these different aspects together into one whole. There's a kind of blending. The thing to be aware of is that when we start to bring our upper body, and particularly our arms, into the movement, it's very easy to lose touch with what's happening in your hips and your legs. So try not to do that. Your upper body is led by what's happening, as you've discovered in the weight. Remember, your weight goes forwards, your upper body goes forwards, your upper body goes forwards, your arms will go forwards. It gets a bit more complicated than that, but that's the basic formula. We're told in Tai Chi that the movement is rooted in our feet. It's transmitted through our legs. In the case of the seated, that's between hips and legs. Directed, guided by the center of the body. We've seen how that works. And then finally expressed in our upper body and arms. So with that idea, with that sequence in your mind, sit back, weight back in your hips, turn the palms of your hands forwards, going forwards and just rotating your arms. This is called bird folds its wings. Settle down into your hips. As you do, feel that it's almost like you're sitting into a springy chair, because you get pushed out of the chair and get pushed forwards, and then again sinking into the ground through your feet and your legs and feeling the push back. So what that means is that your pelvis responds to that by tilting a little bit, and because the pelvis responds like that, the shoulder moves, and your arm, notice that my arm is directly below my shoulder. And so I'm not moving my arm forwards and backwards at this point, I'm rotating my arm, but even without moving forwards and backwards, there's a good deal of movement, a flow of energy moving through my arms. From the forward position, this time keep your hands facing back. You feel yourself being pushed back, and then your arms forward. Going forwards, and again your arms forward. So from the side, you can see here, as I go back, my arms are left behind, and then as I settle into my hips, they swing through. Here, I go forwards, my arms are left behind. It's exaggerated slightly. Again, the image of moving through water is a good one. You're rooted in your feet, transmitted through your legs, directed through the middle of your body. This is fisherman cast neck. So learning to use our whole body, from feet to hips, shoulders, and not just up and down the body, but from the outside in, through the skin, through the muscles and tendons and ligaments, through the fascial layers, and into the bones. Flow of the movement, thereby is felt all the way through the body. You'll miss that if you're just using your arms, because there'll just be too much strain and that movement will get blocked. It's time as you go forward, imagine a ball underneath your arms so that your arms are pulled over, rolling the ball in, not lifting your arms. There's a ball there and you lift your arms, you'll no longer be in contact with the ball. You pull. As a general principle, as a general rule of thumb here, the less you move your arms, the more aware you will be of other movements in the body, whether that be subtle mechanical processes of extension, contraction, or that sense of a rising, flowing energy. And eventually they'll start to combine to bring your hands up a little bit higher. But if all you're doing is this, lifting your arms, you're less likely to get that appreciation. And one of the outcomes that we're looking for here, one of the things that we take away with us, is that sense of harmony that comes through the integration of what's sometimes referred to as the three treasures of body, mind, and energy: our intention, our awareness, the mechanics of the movement that become increasingly subtle, and that subtleness seems to expand out into the movement itself, the flow, the momentum, the energy. And as in Chinese medicine, we're looking to harmonize all three of those. And then feeling your hands palming. It's important to realize that this idea of the energy isn't some kind of obscure, abstract, cosmic quality. If you look back in the old texts on Chinese medicine and related subjects, the energy is seen as coming from the sun. The sun warms the earth. That enables the plants to grow, and so on and so forth. So, this one, pigeon spreads its wings. As you push up through the expansion, your belly, solar plexus, and your chest, that pushes your arms out. And as you go forwards, there's a kind of draining away, drawing your arms in. Here, chest expands, but across your upper back, you feel an expansion. And then the chest contracts, and that helps to bring your arms in through the expansion across your back, which in its turn contracts, helping to pull your arms out. So we have the overriding dynamic of our weight sinking into our feet and then feeling the push back, sinking through our hips and then feeling the push forwards. But then that pattern of expansion and contraction through the upper part of the body, as though the movement, the energy rises up and almost divides into this pattern. It's not just your arms. Now this time, from the forward position, Let your hands come back towards your hips. Your elbows will go out just a little bit. Turn your hands forwards and push forwards. Pushing away. That wave-like movement forwards and backwards, along with still the expansion and contraction in chest and upper back, combining in this relatively small amount of space compared to the previous exercise to provide quite a powerful feeling of a push forwards. Sense of the movement being denser because the smaller, more economical structure that it's moving through. And this combination of mind, body, and movement of energy also begins to develop a very subtle sense of conditioning of all three within the body, giving us a much more resilient quality. Sitting back, turning toward one leg, taking the step, planting the foot, and then push. Go back, bringing that foot in, turning, face the other leg, stepping out and planting the foot. Okay, now bring the foot in, and this time roll your fingers into a loose, hollow fist, keeping your elbows just in front of your hips. Rotating your arms as you go forwards and backwards, rotating them to as much of a range of 180 degrees, a half turn, as you can without straining. Trying to feel that rotation in the shoulder joint. And because of the rotation, the movement in your shoulder joint, once again, more subtly than before, feeling how your chest and upper back engage with the movement. Once again, using more of your whole body. And awareness is a key part of this. When our attention drifts away, these movements quite easily become simply orientated around our arms and our hands. Lose that sense of the movement. And the whole of the body, lose that sense of connection between the body and mind. Open your fingers, winding your arms out. And again, pressing forwards. This exercise perhaps emphasizes a little bit more than some of the previous ones, how the expansion and contraction of our chest, upper back, can have quite a profound effect on what's happening in our arms and our hands. And then turning your hands palm down, so they're resting on the table. Turn these balls extending through spine and arms and polishing the table. So obviously muscles, tendons, ligament, fascia are all involved in this extension and contraction, but it can feel almost as though your bones are also almost extended and contracting themselves. Remembering that bone is living tissue. And whilst there might not be the same sort of obvious sense of lengthening and contracting we find in muscles, that doesn't mean that there isn't possibility of a sense of movement through the bones. One more time. Coming back to the center, turning your hands palm up, using both feet and hips together, a gentle push up, like a wave coming up through your body, pushing your arms up, and then turn your hands over as though you're pushing the ball down into. Just feeling a gentle lengthening extension through your spine, and then a contraction. Just aware of the spaces between the vertebrae expanding a little, each one expanding just a small amount, but the cumulative total can be quite big. Same with spaces between your ribs, expanding and contracting. Yeah, rotating your hands out. Same idea, but your arms going away from your body. It's a little bit more expansive in the upper part of your body. This is the wild goose. You may find that, for instance, the image of the bird in flight conveys some kind of quality, connection, strength, fluidity of movement. These are all qualities that, again, we want to feel within our body. And sometimes the imagery can help with that if it's a good image for you. If it's not, then don't feel that you've failed in any kind of massive way. Sometimes an image comes to mean something over a period of time. Now, as your hands come down, tilt forward, so your hands can swing in front of your knees a little bit. Sit back into your hips and push up, heart in the clouds. One more time. From the upright position, letting your hands drop down, arms hanging from your shoulders, focusing on one side, and again, expanding and contracting. This is dragon plucks the stars from the sky. Your attention rests for a moment in your center as you sink into the chair and then And the opposite side, expanding. Wind your arm around and contract. One more time on each side. Bring your hands to the center of your body. Lightly touch that area of your center with the inside of your arm somewhere. And from that position, feeling the expansion. Pushing your arms up, pushing your hips down into the chair, pushing your feet down into the floor. It's like a ball in that area of your belly, expands out and then contracts. It's important that we don't overdo the upper body movements. Our arms are pushed away to the energy of that expansion fades and then get drawn back. It's having an intention to allow the movement to flow through as much of your body as possible, particularly those areas that feel a bit blocked or tight. This time, extend one leg, rest on the heel, don't straighten out your knee, turn your hand palm up, ease forwards, as though you're scooping water up in your arms, and then you sit back, let your hips drop back, front of your body expands, so you're throwing the water back over your head. This is called scooping the sea. Very carefully with your back. Don't strain in your back or your shoulders. Pull yourself upright. Imagine somebody sitting behind your chair. You've got their hands through the back of the chair. And they grab hold of your belt or the top of your trousers or skirt. And as you go forwards, they're already pulling you back up. Letting your hands drop down again, making a hollow fist, going forwards. This time, the general trajectory is upwards, lengthening through your back and drawing your arms over, the movement grasping tiger's ears. This is not simply the arms coming around. You'll soon get stiff in your shoulders if you do that. I'm exaggerating a bit. Look how I go forward. Look how my chest pushes out and then the chest contracts and that brings the arms around. Once again, using more of the body, certain amount of movement in your weight, a strong movement in your pelvis, bringing your shoulders forwards. And then that expansion and contraction in the chest that we've noted before, enabling you to bring your arms up and around in what can be quite a difficult movement without straining. And then changing over, starting with scooping the sea and looking at the sky. Remember, when one part of your body is in motion, the whole body is in motion. And then grasping the tiger's ears. Good. And then rest again for a moment. Sometimes we find after we've moved around a little bit, and that helps us to focus our attention a little bit more. We can come back to this posture with a very different perspective. Weight sinking down, distributed between the hips and feet. Long feeling through your back and spine. And then, once again, rubbing your hands together, tapping over your face, over your head and neck, down to one shoulder. Using this to help us get ready to move from seated to standing. On the other side. And the upper part of the chest. Your belly. And legs. Then just push your heels up a few times to activate the muscles of your legs a little bit more before we try and stand on them. And then circling around. Back the other way. Lovely. So coming to standing. So we want to try and reproduce these qualities that we've been discovering in the chair, in the standing. Structurally, of course, it's going to be different with the chair there. So we need to think about the structure, but we can also use that memory of how it could feel. Because again, this can be an intention, a suggestion to the body. This is how we want it to feel. And once again, particularly as you become more experienced, you'll find that your body can be quite responsive to those suggestions as I described. So standing with your feet directly below your hips, not too close together. This will make you feel as though you're trying to sort of stand on a plank or something like that. So give yourself the space to stand on. You want to have your weight a little bit forwards, just to allow your hips to drop back, feeling that gravity is pulling the weight of your body down into the feet and into the ground below you. Let your hips drop down, let your center of gravity drop a little bit. And then without straining, so push up from the ground, get that feeling in the center of gravity, your root, staying in the ground and your body growing out of it, like a plant grows out of its roots. And then tracting back down. Chin up. Don't lock your knees back, so don't go too high. Sinking down. So we're learning to move, maintaining that connection to the root, bringing your hands around the standing version of rooting down, pushing the ball up, and then letting your hips sink as though you're pushing the ball down into water. Turning your hands out, going into the wild goose. And back down, and this time let your hands drop down and going into parting the clouds. So the same movement for each of the exercises in your hips, your legs, but just subtle variation in the upper part of the body. Back to rooting down. Change in image, a change in positioning of your hands between them, producing the change within the body. And as we become more experienced in Tai Chi, it's those internal changes, those subtle changes of expansion and contraction of the patterns of movement of energy within your body that drive the external movements. One more round of this. Good. So now, turn one foot out, a comfortable angle, step straight forward with the other foot. Notice I've kept the width of my step and not too long of movements. And now just transferring your weight forwards and backwards, but not leaning. Shoulders staying in line with your hips. If I do this, then it's followed by that. So maintaining your alignment with the pull of gravity, maintaining your root, but still moving a little. Once again, an awareness of what is happening in your feet and your legs is really important here. So it's important to stay aware, to stay alert. This is one of the reasons why sometimes said in Tai Chi, a saying that comes from the old writings of Tai Chi, simply first in the mind. Not mind over matter, but it does mean that the mind does matter. This time when you go forwards, push your back knee in so you shift slightly more into the front leg. Go back, you raise your toes, you shift, so you're coming more into the line over the supporting leg. You can have the front foot turned out slightly if that helps. And remember that feeling, particularly in the upper part of your body, of being supported, looking for that support over one leg. And then going into your back foot, bringing the foot in, step forwards, put your heel down, lower the ball of your foot, gently push it, plant. And then when you go back, it's going to be the ball of your foot goes down, then your heel, then you plant, then the weight moves. So if you are able to stay alert and aware of what was happening in your feet and your legs in the chair, you should find this a lot more accessible. And shake hands. So same thing with your other foot forwards. Hip width about the same in length. Transferring weight. One way of describing this is that your legs fill and empty. We're trying to move in such a way that doesn't put us into conflict with the pull of gravity. Here, gravity is pulling me down into my legs, into that space between my legs. If I do this, gravity is now pulling me forwards. So it's important to pay attention to your posture, your alignment, and then just pushing your knee forwards, and sinking back, raising your toes. Stepping in. Try not to sort of stiffen up in your arms and your hands. There's nothing there to hold on to. Thin air isn't going to support you, but your leg will. And then bring the foot in and step through. You can go forwards or backwards, depending on where you have the room. Take your time. Planting the foot. And then going back, changing direction, and which way you were going first of all. Shake out. Okay. Have your right foot forwards to mirror my movements. Move forwards, let your arms swing through in the standing version of fisherman castanet. Remember, your body moving your arms, not the other way around. So you're moving through water. Start to stiffen up your arms or your hands or your fingers. As you go forward, settle into your front foot and turn. Your arms swing out. Move by the turning in your hips, transmitted into your shoulders. This is called wind blows the willows. Rooted in your feet, transmitted through your legs, guided and shaped through the center of your body. Okay, now try that with your other foot forwards. Starting with fisherman castanet. Notice where my hands are going. A very common error here is for people to bring their hands right up there. But I'm pushing, well, the movement is pushing my hands away from my hips. I'm not trying to lift my arms. If I were to do that, I go forward. As I lift my arms up and down, watch what happens. I start to fall over. So trying to get a sense for how far you can move without meaning your body has to strain, simply to prevent you falling over. Coming into your back foot and turning, wind blows the willows. Expanding, contracting, expanding, contracting as your weight moves. So then we're going to combine this with the stepping. Again, you can go forwards or back. So I'll go forwards, my back knee bends in, The hook comes in and I step forwards and plant. Lower the hands, moving my weight. This is dragonfly skims the water, finding that alignment over your supporting leg. And then if you've done that, maybe just raising your leg up. But find that alignment first. And then changing direction. Your hips sink back to give you the stability to raise your leg. So in the same feeling of your hips as you would get in the chair, remember the hips sinking into the chair. This is one of the key areas, one of the key aspects that will enable you to remain stable. Bringing your feet parallel. And shake it. Go back to your chair. Notice how we go into the chair. I do it from the side. We locate the chair. The knees bend a little bit. The hips go back. And then to come upright, I try not to strain in my shoulders, but let my hips roll back to bring me to the upright position. Now let your hands drop down to your sides and then pushing out. This is embrace tiger, return to mountain. So 4 stages to the movement. Your arms swing out, wrapping around as though they're going to hold a ball against your chair. Feeling your hips sink. That sinking feeling, drawing your hands inwards and then downwards. Nice feeling of being settled at the end of each round before you push out again. One more time. And then and just open your eyes. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching and joining in. And as always, please do get in touch if you have any questions or comments. But bye for now.